Namami Swaram Sachidanandarupam Lasatkundalam Gokule Bhrajamanam Yasodabhiyo Lukha Ladhavamanam Yasodabhiyo Lukha Ladhavamanam Paramrishtamachan Tato Drutta Gopya
But today we're going to really focus on this Damordarastakam because it's such a powerful impression to build during this month of God. So much mercy will come to us if we study this, because this is so pleasing to Sri Radhika, this Damordarastakam. We are here to get the mercy of Sri Radhika, particularly, of course, being in Radha-kunda as we are here hungry for her kripa. If Radhika is pleased, then the entirety of the universe will be pleased. So I'm just going to read a little bit from this foreword, this preface by Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj. It's divided into, first of all, there's the Digdarshani commentary by Sanatan Goswami. And then Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, he gives a very concise commentary on that Sanatan Goswami's Tika. And then my Gurudev speaks more detail after that. So that's the context of the book. This is like there's three Tikas: Sanatan Goswami, Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, and Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. So in the preface here, it's describing the speciality and glories of this Damordarastakam. This is what we really have to appreciate today, I think, the speciality of this Astakam. So there's a prayer here. It's described. Damordarastakam Namastotram Damodar Acharanam Nityam Damodarakarshi Partet Satya Vratoditam. This is from the Hari Bhakti Vilas, and this is saying, one who worships Sri Damodar during Kartik month by daily reciting the prayer Sri Damordarastakam, which was uttered by Satyabrat Muni as it arose in his heart, will perpetually attract Sri Damodar himself. So this is our hope. So now in Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, he's saying, as stated above, Sri Damodar Hari becomes pleased with those who worship Sri Radhika for her pleasure during the month of Kartik. And now there's a very beautiful footnote by Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Goswami Maharaj about the special. We can't really build this Leela without a profound platform of tattva. If there's not the first line, Namamishwaram Satchit Ananda Rupam. This is the Mangalacharyan line. And this is establishing the tattva of this. Everything is built on this, that Krishna is that Supreme Personality of Godhead, that Satchitananda Vigraha. This is what it's building from the first line. And then it goes straight into the Leela. Lasat Kundalam, the beautiful earrings swinging on the cheeks, against the cheeks of the Divine Lord. So it goes straight into the Leela, coming out from this. But this platform has to be there initially. So Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Goswami Maharaj is saying, by performing worship of Sri Radhika for her pleasure during the month of Kartik, are we able to do that for a start? Or do we have our hands out while we're performing any type of service? What am I going to get by doing this? What is in it for me? The conditioned soul is suffering like crazy. If you're if someone's pinching you with a needle, you know, you want to get away from that pinch. So how can we transition and turn our whole consciousness around to not caring about the self, but actually caring about the object of worship more than the self? It's easy to say the words, but in a conditioned state, we're always concerned for our own pleasure and happiness. That's the state of the conditioned mind. So when he says here that Radhika for her pleasure during the month of Kartik, how can we serve her for her pleasure? This is the nature of the devotee. This is the quality of a devotee, that they're able to worship fully, without any consideration for their own liberation or some gyan or karma like that. We know the verse, Anyabhalasita sunyam jnana karmadi anavritam, that without any karma or gyan, to worship just in an unalloyed way. This will all be described and unpacked. This is going very methodically through to the entire conclusion of worship of Sri Radhika. This whole Damordarastakam, the conclusion is the worship of Radhika. So for the Gaudiyas, this is the most treasured Astakam, because that's where it's leading us, to worship Sri Radhika. That's its focus, that's the goal. When we set it's just like when we study Upadeshamrita, for example. The 11th verse of that is describing Radha-kunda. It's describing the glories and beauty of being ultimately a maidservant of Srimati Radhika. This is in the 11th verse of Upadeshamrita, and we need to appreciate that right at the beginning of our study of Upadeshamrita, Vacho Vega Manasakode. Why should we try to be restrictive with our senses unless we know fully what is the goal, where we're going? What is the objective? So we have to know this objective has to be absolutely crystal clear. So by performing worship of Sri Radhika for her pleasure during the month of Kartik, Sri Damodar Hari becomes very pleased. This is because Ujeshwari Srimati Radharani, the controller of all potency, is the sole presiding goddess of this month. We studied the 14th chapter of Jaivadhamma, Shakti Tattva. So powerful, this chapter, describing clearly that actually Krishna is not doing anything. Krishna is svatantrata, he's icchamaita. He has complete freedom and he has free will. He has that independent, inspirational mood, but he doesn't do actually anything himself. His Shakti is doing everything. Sri Radhika does Swarup Shakti is manifesting all the worlds. Even Baladev Prabhu, as we've said many times, Sandini Shakti, Ishtadev, comes from Swarup Shakti. Even though it's saying in Brahma Samhita that Baladev is the first manifestation from Krishna, he is the first manifestation from Krishna through the Swarup Shakti. So to have this understanding absolutely fixed, that Radhika is that supreme energetic personality. Everything is, Radhika's only source of pleasure is to bring Krishna pleasure, nothing else. Nothing else exists in her mood and heart except to please Sri Hari. When she goes into Man, for example, that's just to please Krishna. Krishna has to do seva. Seva is a great pleasure for all of us. So Krishna has to do seva to break that man, for example. So everything Radhika is doing, nothing, Radhika doesn't do anything except to bring pleasure to Krishna. And Krishna, his mood is to please reciprocate with Radhika. It's a reciprocal, divine, transcendental relationship. This is the heart of our practice, to appreciate the divine nature of the conjugal relationship between Radha and Krishna. All our scriptures are describing this. So many granthas are describing this. So this is the principle. Is the sole presiding goddess of this month. Unless someone worships Krishna's Swarup Shakti, internal potency, or Hladini Shakti, pleasure potency, Damodar Shri Krishna, the possessor of all potencies. He possesses that, just like the sun planet possesses the effulgence of the sun. Right? The sun planet, if you think of that, he's the actual possessor of the effulgence of the sun. It's all coming from him. It's the source from where it's coming from. Possessor of all potencies, does accept, where was it? Damodar Sri Hari, the possessor of all potencies, does not accept his worship. He doesn't accept the worship without worship of Radhika. Moreover, Sri Radha Devi, Sri Krishna's Antaranga Shakti, internal potency, discards everything if she is worshipped alone without the Lord of her life. If we try to worship just Radha alone, then how is that going to be pleasing to Sri Radhika? Sri Radhika is only living to please Sri Krishna. This dynamic is brought out in all of the Shastras, especially in this Rasa Lila that we've just touched a little bit on, which manifested yesterday, that Sharad Purnima. The gopis themselves only want to bring pleasure to Krishna because they're Radhika's Kaya Vyuha. They have the same mood as Radhika, just to bring Krishna pleasure. So this is our principle. Therefore, Swarup, Rupanuga, Gaudiya, Vaishnavas, in the line of Sri Rupa and Sanatan and Swarup Damodar Goswamis, have exclusively adopted the worship of Yugal, the divine couple, in Radha Lingita Vigraha, the form of Krishna when he is tightly embraced by Sri Radhika. This is where we're going. This is why we're here. This is why we're performing our Kartik Brat, to appreciate these points, to appreciate the divine relationship between Radha and Krishna. There's nothing more intoxicating for the heart to consider this, to meditate on this. When we're chanting Hare Krishna, there's Krishna and Radha. Hare, Radha, Krishna, Radha, Krishna. That's the reality of the Maha Mantra. It's Radha and Krishna, Radha and Krishna. Taran, it's great to see you. The form of Krishna when he is tightly embraced by Srimati Radhika. For the very same reason, Sri Krishna Dvaipayana Vedavyas has also offered his obeisances to Varshabhanavi Sri Radhika and her beloved Sri Damodar Krishna, the orchestrators of unlimited pastimes. In the last verse of this Sri Damodarastakam, yes, in other words, he has established the supremacy of Shakti and Shaktiman Tattva on the basis of this prayer. What is so exceptional about this prayer is that it's a progression, a progression, and the energy is greed. From the very beginning, Satyabrat Muni, he's so hungry to have darshan of Krishna. Initially, he walks us through from Dasya Bhav. He describes something of Sakya Bhav, something of Vatsalya Bhav, and he culminates with this Madhurya Bhav. It's a very simple line, it's a current. That's why it's so ecstatic to go through it regularly, again and again. So, back to the text where Srila Bhakti Pragan Keshav Maharaj is explaining. He says, this Damodarastakam Stava is narrated in the Padma Purana, where it is spoken by Sri Satyavrat Muni in the context of a conversation between Sri Narad and the other sages headed by Sri Sonika Rishi. In his commentary on this Damodarastakam, Sri Sanatana Goswami Pad has stated, now this is important to appreciate, this prayer is Nitya Siddha. This prayer is Nitya Siddha, which means eternally perfect. This prayer is eternally perfect. Satyabrat Muni manifested this in Chakshush Manvantara, the Manvantara prior to this one, which is 300 million years before. And still, every single day in this month, for eternity basically, these prayers have been chanted. Try to catch this. Which means eternally perfect. It has manifested through Sri Satyabrat Muni and is capable of attracting Sri Damodar Krishna. So we want to attract Damodar Krishna. And then, I'm just jumping a little bit here. I'm still reading the preface of Srila Bhakti-Viran Keshav Maharaj. Sri Damordarastakam is eternal. Therefore, we should study it. When it's saying like it's eternal, it means sometimes it's prominently manifest in the world, just like Jaivadama is an eternal Shastra. But sometimes it's prominent in the world, and sometimes it becomes silent, so to speak. So this Damodarastakam is the same. It sometimes rises and is appreciated, and other times it's quiet, but it's always there. Sri Damodarastakam is eternal, therefore we should study it, sing it out loud, and discuss it. This is what we're going to do for the next month, or the next few weeks anyway. We're going to study it. Not just during the month of Kartik, but every day throughout Chaturmasya. So for 4 months, it's suggesting here that we do this. It is so important that it is worth reading every month and indeed every day of the year. This is the conclusion of Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj. If this Sri Damodarastakam is glorified in a sublimely pure way, Sri Damodar will become pleased. It is with this intention that with great effort we have compiled this book. So this was in the preface to Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj. Now we come into the book itself. In verse 1, there's a beautiful Mangalacharyan by my Gurudev, who's invoking all the mercy of all our Guru Varga. Without this invocation, how can anyone say anything? Every day we very carefully chant our Mangalacharyan prayers before attempting to say anything of relevance. Nothing will be relevant without acknowledging where that potency is coming from. Otherwise, it'll just be like an independent, speculative offering or thought process. So now we come into Sanatana Goswami's, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj's Tika, Digdarshani Tika, Bhavanuvad. And there's a verse here, Sri Radha Sahitam Natva Sri Damodaram Ishwaram, Damodarastaka Vyakya Jijesha Dishyate Duna. After offering obeisances to the Supreme Controller, Sri Damodar, accompanied by Sri Radha, this explanation of Sri Damodarastakam, known as Digdarshani, the insight that guides us towards the inner meaning, is herewith presented. So this is important. With the intention of making his prayer, Sri Satyabrat Muni first offers his devoted obeisances to Bhagavan Sri Krishna with the word Namami, which invokes auspiciousness, Namami. He offers his obeisances by extolling Sri Krishna's supremacy through descriptions pertaining to the speciality of his tattva, his form, his pastimes, and his qualities. I'm reading from page 6, by the way, if you have this book, page 6. Thus, Satyabrat Muni declares the unique supremacy manifested by Sri Krishna in Gokul to be the very essence and entirety of Godhead. This is what I just said in the beginning. This is the platform. When we acknowledge fully, with great reverence and honor, that Supreme Lord, from where all Shakti manifests, that praman must be given. Namamishwaram Satchit Anandarupam. It's only one line, but that line is essential. That line creates the platform for the whole rest of the Astakam. It is vital to offer respects to one's worshipable deity before beginning any task. Also, by this gesture, Sri Satyabrat Muni exhibits his special feeling of dasya bhakti. He's starting in dasya. This is what's so exciting about this Damordarastakam, because it's going to walk through like a staircase all the way through the different emotional staibhavs with Krishna. It's fueled by greed. We see actually when we look at the verses after we've understood them more clearly, we see it's just an escalation of greed. First of all, the second verse, for example, it's called Mantramayi. It's a singular pastime where Krishna is being described. And then in the third verse it comes to the Leelas, many Leelas. So this is called Swarasiki. This is higher than Mantramayi. So it's an escalation. And then in the fourth verse, Satyabrat Muni is declaring that he doesn't want moksha. So this is very often the impression of so many practitioners, that they're actually seeking this liberation mood. Certainly historically, previously, before Mahaprabhu advented. And he's saying that he doesn't even want Navada Bhakti in the fourth verse. So I'm just giving a little summary to put things in context of where we're going. And he's saying that only Rag Marg is what I desire. So you see the escalation. We've come from saying the Mangalacharyan, Namamishwaram Satchidananda Rupa, straight away, Lasat Kundalam, straight away these beautiful earrings, straight away we're right in, thick into the Leela. And then it goes even higher in verse 5. He doesn't just want to see Balagopal, he wants to see only the face of Balagopal. This is in the fifth verse. This is bringing it up to there. And this is more of a Vatsalya mood, has been increased by this fifth verse. And then the sixth verse is like Sankirtan, that Satyabrat Muni is realizing that only Sankirtan is going to attain the Lord. This is the highest process. Remember, this was first manifested from his heart in the previous Manvantara. Mahaprabhu had not manifested at that time. This indicates that this Sankirtan, the glorification of the Lord's holy names, is eternal also, but it's just brought to the surface, particularly now by Sachinandan Gaura Hari, to purify this whole Kali Yuga right now. Then the seventh verse is Satyabrat Muni's character and nature comes out, where he says, there's Nalakuvera and Manigriva, they became liberated, why not me? So he's saying this in the seventh. I'm going very, very tiny little summary. Then the eighth verse is about the rope that's binding the belly, and he begins to glorify Radhika in the eighth verse, and it's described by the acharyas that he stops there. He doesn't continue, either out of ecstasy or because he thinks that it's too confidential to go further than this. But this is the culmination. So I just went through all of the 8 verses just to give us a brief summary and a context to what we're talking about. Okay? So we need to capture that thread, because it's all the current of greed, escalating greed all the way through. So that's just been described, that Satyabrat Muni is exhibiting feelings of dasya bhakti in the beginning. Now there's 3 sections, we can say, in Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj's commentary. And the first is he's going to describe this Krishna Tattva. It's very systematic, you know. It doesn't have to be all over the place. It's actually very, especially if you're fortunate enough to take notes on it and so on. You'll see that it's step by step. It's simple. It's not complex. So he's establishing this Krishna Tattva, and he's saying that herein he relates Satyabrat Muni's thoughts. Satyabrat Muni is thinking, Who am I offering obeisances to? To Ishvara, the supreme controller. Now, he has three qualities. Ishvara in his personal form. It's Sarva Shaktiman, the possessor of all potencies. Everything is emanating, we just described, like from the sun. The radiance is emanating from the sun. Everything is emanating from Krishna. So he is the possessor. He's Shaktiman. He's the possessor of the potency. And he's Jagat Eka Nat, the sole Lord of the entire world. He is Jagat Eka Nat, the sole Lord of the entire world. And he's Nija Prabhu. This is most important. Nija Prabhu. He's my own master. This is what Satyabrat Muni is saying. He's my master. This makes it so personal. This is the mood of Satyabrat Muni. My own dear master, I'm offering my obeisances to that Ishvara. This is who is the Ishvara that he's offering obeisances to. Try and get the whole picture here. There's three principles: Sarva Shaktivan, Jagat Eka Nat, and Nija Prabhu. These three principles. Because we just read that if we study this, we'll catch it. Especially when we're hearing is one link. When we're writing is two. And if we ever got an opportunity to speak it, then it's three. Three impressions that come. Shravanam, Kirtanam is speaking, then Smaranam, then remembrance of these pastimes will manifest. In the first facet of Ishvara, the possessor of all potencies, Sri Satyabrat Muni seeks the potency to offer prayers in glorification of Bhagavan. How can he offer his prayers without the potency of Bhagavan's support to offer the prayers? He's got to have Bhagavan's mercy to offer the prayers in the first place. There's so much humility couched in here. He's not doing anything himself independently. It's all depending on the mercy of the Lord. The second facet, the sole Lord of the entire world, that's the Jagat Eka Nat, conveys that Ishvara is alone his topmost worshipable and praiseworthy Lord. Only Ishvara. There is no other. My Gurudev used to very often go into many of the houses in Mathura, and he would look at their crowded altars of Durga Ma, so many different personalities, Ganesh, all sitting there on the altar. And he would always be very unhappy to see all of that. And he would try to encourage those devotees. You just want Mahaprabhu, Radha and Krishna. You can have Lord Nrsingadev, you can have Jagannath, and that's it. But don't clutter your focus up with so many other. And Satyabrat Muni is saying here conclusively that conveys that Ishvara alone is the topmost worshipable Lord. Only this Ishvara is his Lord. One focused, Ekatma. Finally, in relation to the last facet of Ishvara, he is my own dear master, Sri Satyabrat Muni expresses his own special bhakti for the Lord. This is very powerful. His own special bhakti for the Lord. It's so beautiful to consider. What is his own bhakti for the Lord? You are my dear master. Because he's loved by Radha. That's why he's the dear master. Because Radharani loves him. If Radharani was not there, loving Krishna, Ishvara, then Satyabrat Muni would be saying, who is Radharani? Where is her focus? So, next he's saying, how is Ishvara manifest? Addressing this question, Sri Satyabrat Muni says, Ishvara is manifest as the beautiful form of concentrated, pure existence, Sat Chit Ananda, full knowledge and unlimited bliss, Sat Chit Ananda, Namam Ishwaram, Sat Chit Ananda. All of these hard-hitting, very profound, concise descriptions of this rock-solid platform that he's establishing, because he's about to put this entire sequence to take mercy of Sri Radhika on this platform. It has to be rock solid. Thus the sage has explained the unrivaled supremacy of Sri Krishna, the object of his prayers, by narrating the special, profound, fundamental truths, tattva, underlying his identity. So he's done it with just basically three expressions. This Sarva Shaktiman, Jagat Ekanat, and Nija Prabhu. So this is the beginning. This is the very beginning. Now the second aspect, because now we're coming into the Leela, straight after this. He's confident enough to consider, yes, I've erected the platform sufficiently. Now I'm qualified by that platform to dive straight into the Leela. Satyabhat Muni shows the exceptional supremacy of Sri Krishna by describing his unique beauty, the unique beauty of his form. Krishna is called Lavanamrita. Lavanamrita means that the source of all beauty is manifesting from Krishna. We love beauty. Beauty is so attractive. Krishna is described as the all-attractive. He is the most beautiful. Whenever we see anything beautiful, we become inspired. You see a beautiful tree, even a beautiful house, something material. Even you might see a beautiful car. You become attracted. A beautiful person, etc. Beauty will soften the heart. It's the first anga or angi of Krishna, the first quality of Krishna. Krishna has 6 principal qualities, and the first is beauty, and then it's fame, strength, and opulence. These 3, and then there's knowledge, jnana, and vairagya are the last 2. He describes how his earrings are swinging, lasat kundalam, because he is running away from his mother Sri Yashoda out of fear, or else because it is the nature to always make transcendental childish mischief due to increasing restlessness. Makara-shaped earrings constantly swing near his cheeks and seem to be playing there. In this way, the sage describes the speciality of the extraordinary splendor of Sri Krishna's worshipable face. Don't forget, he's in a mood of Dasya Bhav still. He's looking to Krishna still, here, at this point in the Astakam. It's going to escalate. This is the speciality. Yet another meaning of Lasat Kundalam is those 2 Makara-shaped earrings have achieved the celebrated fortune of kissing Sri Krishna's cheeks and are therefore the most exalted of all his ornaments. Consequently, simply by mentioning Sri Krishna's earrings, the special fortune of all other ornaments adorning his various limbs is implied. So just by mentioning the beauty of the earrings and then all the other ornaments, Krishna has a little string of bells around his waist. So, and he has ankle bells on also. For this reason, Sri Satyabhat Muni is indicating, I'm offering obeisances to that personality whose bodily luster beautifies his earrings. In other words, Sri Krishna's limbs even beautify their own ornaments. For this reason, the gopis have said, Trailokya shobhagyam idam cha nirekshya rupam yad godvija druma mriga pulakyane abibran. This is from the 10th canto, 29th chapter, that's the Pranaya Gita, 40th verse. And this translates as, Dear Krishna, as a result of beholding your beautiful form, which has enhanced the fortune of the 3 worlds, even the bodies of the cows, birds, trees, deer, and others have erupted with horripilation. Is it at all surprising then, if your beautiful form bewilders us? This is what the gopis are saying to Krishna. Also, while Sri Uddhav was describing Sri Krishna's beautiful form to Vidura, he said, Vishma panam swasya cha sobhagya hriday param padam ushana bhushananganam. This is Srimad Bhagavatam 3:2-12. Krishna's form is so captivating that even he is astonished when he sees himself. We know the example. When he sees this beautiful boy in a shining column in Gokul, and he thinks, this is the most beautiful boy I ever seen in my life. His heart is completely captivated, and he offers him a sweet. Oh, this boy is offering me a sweet back. He becomes so enchanted with his own form, and then he hears the elder gopis giggling in the back, and he realizes it's only his reflection. But he wants to taste his own form, which is what he does in the form of Sachinandan Gaurahari. Krishna's form is so captivating that even he is astonished when he sees himself. His beautiful form embodies the topmost limit of exceedingly good fortune and opulence. Indeed, ornaments usually beautify the person wearing them, but Sri Krishna's form is so beautiful that he actually increases the beauty of his ornaments. In other words, compared to all other divine forms in existence, the beauty of his form is supremely divine. So this is the second aspect of the first verse that we're describing. And now the third part is about association. Next, Sri Satyabrat Muni shows the extraordinary excellence of Sri Krishna by describing his special associates present with him in Gokul. He says, Gokule Brajamanam. How splendid it is when Sri Krishna is in Gokul, Gokule, the home of the gopis, cows, calves, and others. In this place, which is particularly befitting, he manifests the exceptional supremacy, Brajamanam, of his pastimes, which he has never manifested anywhere else. He's never manifested these pastimes anywhere except in Braj, in all his previous incarnations. Another meaning is that the outstanding environment of Gokul is effulgent with the mood of natural love. So when Sri Krishna is situated there, he is certainly most splendid, Brajamanam. This is also described in various places in Shastra. In the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is described as follows: Chaksha Gopi Parashat Gato Richitas Trailokya Lakshmi Eka Padam Vapu Dadat. This is from the 10th canto, 32nd chapter, verse 14. Sri Krishna, for whom perfect mystic yogis prepare a seat in their purified lotus-like hearts, appeared as the reservoir of all beauty, unequaled within the three worlds. He accepted the seat offered by the gopis and was worshipped by them. Then he sat in their midst and appeared even more splendorous. That's such a beautiful pastime. When the gopis, they have these very, very thin veils, and they all, millions of them, actually billions of them, they pile up these very thin veils to make a beautiful asana for Krishna. And Krishna, he sits on that asana, and then he speaks. He sits and he's surrounded by all the gopis. Can we imagine that sight? When he's sitting surrounded by millions of gopis, and they're all adoring him. And his beauty shines, and their beauty reflects his beauty and increases also. Then when Krishna sees that reflection, his beauty increases, and it becomes like a competition. And because love, we've said so many times, is not a static thing. It's a verb, to love. It must be increasing. Otherwise, it's not real. It's just mundane, without that dynamic of ecstasy or ecstatic increase. It has no real potency. Certainly not in the spiritual realm. So now the fourth aspect in this commentary is about the pastime and real fear. Now in the remainder, I'm going quite quickly actually. I'm going slowly, but at the same time, I'm just kind of like galloping along through this commentary, because I'm going to finish it. It is Kartika for sure. We're going to get to the end of it for sure. So we have to move along a bit. Now in the remainder of this line, beginning with Yashoda, as well as in the whole next verse, Sri Satyavrat Muni affirms the unparalleled existence of his worshipable Lord by describing his extraordinary pastimes. How can you describe someone so beautiful without describing what they do? If it's just like a monument, like a statue, but what are the activities that are so attractive? Due to its surrounding context, Yashodaya means from his mother Sri Yashoda. The meaning of Bhiya is that Sri Krishna feared being punished for breaking the earthen pot of butter, as well as raiding its contents and making other types of mischief. A pot of butter had been hung from the ceiling, high above the ground for protection, but Krishna had climbed upon the overturned grinding mortar and was stealing butter from it. The meaning of Ulutkal is when he saw his mother coming with a stick in her hand, he immediately leapt from the grinding mortar, and Vamanam ran away very quickly. The 9th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, contains a detailed narration of this pastime. It is recommended that one reflect upon it. Then there's a beautiful verse from the Bhagavatam here. Ulukalat grihat apari yavashtitam makare kamam tadatam sichi stitam hai yan gatvam chaurya vishankitakshainam nirikshya paschat sutam magrane chanaha. This is from the 9th chapter of the 10th canto. After climbing on top of the overturned grinding mortar, Sri Krishna began feeding the monkeys to his great satisfaction, giving them the butter from the pot that had been hung from the ceiling in order to protect it. Because he was stealing, he was anxiously looking here and there. Seeing him like this, Mother Yashoda slowly approached him from behind. Tam ata yashtim prasan mikya asya satvaras tato varu haya panashara bitavat gopya anvadanvan nayam apa yoginam shamam pravishtitum tapasvaritam manaha. Actually, Pradyumnaji, you should have your book and you can be reciting these verses. You're a Sanskrit scholar, you can sit closer tomorrow and the different verses you please recite, because I know my recitation is certainly not satisfactory, and you can do it and enliven the devotees with you. As soon as Sri Krishna saw his mother with a stick in her hand, he hastily jumped from the grinding mortar and began running away, as if totally overcome by fear. Great mystics whose hearts have been completely purified by performing austerities are qualified to merge with Brahm, yet they fail to catch Sri Krishna. On the other hand, considering him to be her little child, Yasoda Devi ran after the same Sri Krishna in order to catch him. Seeing her son, that's the end of the translation, seeing her son fleeing after being caught making mischief, Mother Yashoda ran after him. She ran much faster than he did and seized him from behind. By describing that she ran much faster than Sri Krishna with the words Atyanta Tato Durtya, Sri Satyavrat Muni alludes to the exceptional beauty of Mother Yashoda's breasts, hips, and full-figured body, and also indicates her special affection for her son. This is a description of Vatsalya Bhav here. The use of the loving address Gopya instead of Yashodaya signifies that only those who are born in cowherd families have the great fortune of seeing these pastimes. Furthermore, by saying Paramashtrita, that she caught him from behind, Sri Satyavrat Muni indicates Sri Krishna's special affection for Mother Yashoda. In other words, he is declaring that Sri Krishna is Bhakta Vatsal. He has particular affection for his devotees. Here also it is beneficial to carefully study the following verse from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Anvancha mana janani rahak chala chon nibara kanta gatir sumad yama javane jvena Vistaramista Kesha Bandarangna Achuta Prasun Anugrati Para Mristat. Bhagavatam 10:9-10. O slender-waisted Yashoda, chased by Sri Krishna. As slender-waisted Yashoda chased Sri Krishna, her pace was slowed down by the weight of her large, swaying hips. As she ran after him, her hair loosened and the flowers that were woven into her braid fell to the ground, as if following behind her. Despite all this, she continued to chase Krishna, and at last she caught hold of him from behind. So this ends the English of the Digdarshini Tika for the first verse. And tomorrow we will read from my Gurudev's commentary on this first verse. So Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, he gives us a very clear, systematic breakdown of the verse, very beautifully. My Gurudev, he opens it out in a much more full, rasik manner, actually. So we'll discuss that Digdarshini Vritti by my Gurudev tomorrow. So Sri Damordarastakam Ki Jai. Gopranam. We today are going to dive more fully into this Damordarastakam prayer. So we haven't actually related the pastime, so I'll just relate it a little bit. That early one morning, Mother Yashoda, she had sent home all the maidservants because it was actually coming up for the month of, or the festival of Dipali, and she let all the maidservants go home. She wanted to milk the cows herself. She wanted to make sure with all her heart and soul that this butter that she was making was going to satisfy her lala, because so many of the elder gopis had been complaining that Krishna had been stealing their butter. So Mother Yashoda became bewildered. Why isn't Krishna satisfied with my butter? So she keeps her own cows. She has 6 or 7 cows of her own, and she's feeding them very special gur and special sweet grasses, etc. So, and then she's milking them herself, and she's doing the whole preparation, and then she's churning the milk, turning it into yogurt, and then churning the yogurt into butter. And she's immersed in thinking of satisfying Sri Krishna, her lala. Meanwhile, Krishna's in the bed, and he wakes up early in the morning and finds that Mother Yashoda's not there. Normally Mother Yashoda is always right next to him, so he begins to cry. Cries very loudly, but Mother Yashoda doesn't hear because she's downstairs, she's preparing the yogurt. And her bells, ankle bells are jingling, her bracelets are jingling, and she's chanting, she's singing while she's churning, so she can't hear Krishna crying. And Krishna cries for some time and then realizes no one's listening to me. So then he struggles, because he's a very small little baby, and it's quite a drop from the edge of the bed down to the floor. So he can't just jump off the bed, he has to go onto his stomach, and then he slides down the side of the bed. That's how he gets down from the bed. And then he toddles down into the room where Mother Yashoda is performing her seva to churn the yogurt. And then he grabs Mother Yashoda's sari, and the very second he grabs her sari, Mother Yashoda immediately stops, and she picks him up and begins to breastfeed him. And she's so overwhelmed in happiness breastfeeding him. And Krishna's thinking that Mother Yashoda is an ocean of the most sweetest milk and nourishment. And Mother Yashoda is thinking, my little Lala, he can drink the most milk. He's just drinking and drinking. So the relationship is extraordinary at this point. It's very special, very sweet. And but then the precious milk that Mother's Yashoda has been preparing starts to boil over. The milk, of course, is thinking, what is the purpose of my life? Why should I maintain my existence when Mother Yashoda has so much milk to give Krishna, why should I maintain my life? I'll just jump into the fire and commit suicide. This is how the milk is thinking. But Mother Yashoda doesn't want that at all. So she has to put Krishna down. So she puts him down very strongly, Krishna does not want to go down. Krishna's holding on with his feet, with his hands, with his mouth. He doesn't want to go down. But Mother Yashoda is able to just easily take him down and goes to save the milk. And Krishna is very, very angry at this. He's furious. His frustration is very high. And then he thinks, he's biting his lip in anger, and he thinks, I'm going to punish Mother Yashoda. She's been very bad. Why did she just put me down when I was so happily drinking the milk? And then he picks up a rock, a stone, a large stone, and he decides to break the yogurt pot. But he doesn't want to break it at the top, so just a little bit of yogurt comes out. He wants to break it at the bottom, so all the yogurt comes out. So he carefully calculates it and cracks it at the bottom, and then all the yogurt. And Krishna is just mesmerized by this pouring out of all this yogurt. He's just astonished. It's such a beautiful sight, all this yogurt just flushing out onto the floor. And then he starts to feel a little guilty. Oh, I've done something very bad here. So then he toddles into another room and to avoid Mother Yashoda. And then he sees the pot of butter hanging from the ceiling. So he takes a grinding mortar and turns it on its end and then climbs on top of the grinding mortar so he can reach the butter at the top, and then he pulls the side of the butter and it all pours onto the grinding mortar, and then he starts sitting on the grinding mortar and taking it. And then he remembers in his Ram Leela how the monkeys and the crows, they helped him so much. So he's feeding all the monkeys, and the crows are also coming in and they're also taking. And Krishna is in ecstasy now. He's happily feeding everybody. And he's got his back to the door. And then Mother Yashoda, meanwhile, she's settled the milk down, put some water on it, and she's come back into to check on Krishna. She's ready to feed him. And then she sees all the mess of the yogurt on the floor, and she smiles. And she thinks, this is only the work of my restless son. But she smiles, but she's thinking, I can't let my son behave like this. I have to train him. I'm his mother, and I have to train my son to not be so restless like this. So then she sees Krishna's footprints going into another room, and she picks up a small stick, and she thinks, now I have to chastise my son. So she comes she follows the footsteps into the room, and the room is actually essentially quite dark, but Krishna's effulgence makes it quite bright. And she creeps in like a cat, but the crows and the monkeys, they see her come in. Krishna has his back to the door, and they run away. So that immediately, Krishna's wired. Krishna's thinking, when is Mother Yashoda going to come? So he's right on edge, expecting his mother to come at any moment. So as soon as the crows and the monkeys run away, he turns around, sees his mother, immediately jumps down from the grinding mortar and runs for his life. He's thinking, and he's running. But Mother Yashoda is determined to catch him, and she's chasing after him fully. And Krishna's thinking to himself, I'll run into the street. Mother Yashoda won't come in the street unless she's properly veiled and dressed nicely. She won't come into the public road. I'll go into the road, and then she'll stop chasing me. So he's running. But Mother Yashoda, she comes to the door, and she sees no one's around, so she keeps on running, chasing him. And then she captures him from behind. This is important, that she can't obviously catch up with him, but this is remarkable that the Supreme Lord, because we know in these two considerations that we've discussed many times, that Krishna is Sarvagya and he's Mugdata. He's all-knowing as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he's also not knowing this. He's completely innocent of his Godhead. At the same time, this is Achintya. So, But Mother Yashoda is only thinking in one way, that this is my son and I have to chastise him. So then she grabs him from behind and captures him and holds the stick in her hand. Krishna's trembling, just looking at the stick, terrified. And then Mother Yashoda sees how frightened he is, so she drops the stick and doesn't want to traumatize her son. So she drops the stick. And then Mother Yashoda is saying, now I'm going to bind you to that other culprit in your act of stealing the butter, the grinding mortar. The two of you are culprits. I'll bind you together and that'll settle you down and keep you from being so restless. So this is basically where we're up to in the pastime. It goes on longer, of course, because then eventually Krishna is bound to the mortar, and that's a long story also. And then he drags the mortar to knock down the two trees. So that's where we're up to a little bit of the pastime. So now, today, we're going to continue with the first verse, and this is Namam Ishwaram Satchit Ananda Rupam. You remember yesterday we discussed the Tika of Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, and he was saying that in this first line, Namam Ishwaram Satchit Ananda Rupam, this is the Mangalacharyan of the whole Astakam. This is making the platform for the rest of the beautiful Leela to rest on. So it's only one line in the whole stanza. So, and then he goes straight into the pastime, Lasat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam, straight into the pastimes of Radha and Krishna after he's erected that very powerful platform. And Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, he described very nicely these three aspects of the Supreme. He's saying, Satyabrat Muni is thinking, who is the Supreme? He's considering this, and then he's saying, he's thinking that this Supreme is Sarva Shaktiman, the possessor of all potency. This is the great Supreme. This is not the intimate little Krishna that we've just described running away from his mother. So we also, as sadhaks, have to mentally adjust to these two dimensions of appreciation of who is Krishna. Krishna is all of these personalities, so we have to adjust. And somehow or other, it's amazing, by the potency of the Maha Mantra, by the potency of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, we're able to adjust quite simply. We're able to accommodate these two aspects of Krishna, being the naughty little boy, at the same time he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We're able to adjust that because we received the teachings from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Queen Kunti, she couldn't adjust that. In the first canto, it's described Queen Kunti is completely bewildered when she thinks that Mother Yashoda bound Krishna. How can he bind the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Their focus in Aishwarya is utterly fixed. But somehow, by the mercy of our Guru Varga, starting from Rupa Goswami all the way down, through Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, he said, appreciate the mercy that we are receiving from this chanting. It's invoked the mercy of our Guru Varga to accommodate this, we can say, dichotomy, this difference between Krishna as the Supreme Lord and Krishna as the little baby. We can just do it. We can somehow or other, by their mercy. So Sarva Shaktiman, the possessor of all potency, Jagat Ekanath, the sole Lord of the entire world, and Nija Prabhu, my own dear Lord. So this is what Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj described yesterday. So now, today, we're going to read my Gurudev's commentary. But this is the pastime that I've just described. So I'll read the rest of the translation of that first verse, just to keep us in context here. So the translation is, I offer obeisances unto Sri Krishna, the possessor of all potencies, Sarva Shaktiman, whose beautiful form is the entirety of concentrated existence, knowledge and bliss, Satchit Ananda. On his cheeks, Makara-shaped earrings are swinging playfully. His infinite brilliance shines forth from his most splendid residence, the transcendental abode, Sri Gokul. He was afraid of Mother Yashoda because he smashed the earthen pot of yogurt. When he saw her coming, he leapt down from the grinding mortar and ran away. Nevertheless, Mother Yashoda ultimately caught him from behind, for she ran more swiftly than he did. So this is very exact description. Mother Yashoda ran faster than Krishna. Her greed to capture Krishna was faster than Krishna's greed to escape her. We have to consider all, because this prayer is so thick, it's so deep, there's so many things in here. And if we start to consider all of the aspects that Satyavrat Muni is alluding to, we start to capture a very broad, powerful picture of this Astakam. Because yesterday we were saying how this is an eternal Astakam. We were saying in the preface by Srila Bhakti-Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, how this Astakam is, what's he saying? He's saying this Damordarastakam is eternal. Therefore we should study it, sing it out loud and discuss it, etc. So appreciating all of this, so all these details help us to enter more fully into the mood of what is taking place here. My Gurudev used to say all of our progress comes from accepting the moods. This is about mood. The moods are coming from the heart. It's not about the brain. It's about the moods of these paths. It's about the exceptional Vatsalya Prem of Mother Yashoda. It can only be appreciated through the heart. It's not something that we can calculate with the brain. So now my Gurudev begins his Digdarshani Vritti. So in order, I'm reading now from page 12 in this beautiful Damordarastakam book. In order to glorify his worshipful Lord, Sri Krishna, and hopeful of attaining his most cherished desire, Sri Satyavrat Muni starts his prayer with Mangalacharyan, an auspicious invocation, beginning with the word Namami. Now, my Gurudev is repeating something from Bhakti-Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, but still we're going deeper into it. Invocations of auspiciousness are of three types: those which offer respects, those which point out the subject being discussed, and those which grant a benediction. Three aspects. The subject being discussed, where is it? Offer respects, the subject, and grant a benediction. Here the sage invokes auspiciousness by first offering his respects through the word Namami, and then continues his Mangalacharyan by indicating the subject being discussed. Ishvara, Sri Krishna, is the original Lord, Ishvara, of all the worlds. Srila Shukadev Goswami provides the evidence for this in Srimad Bhagavatam.
Ete chamsa kala pumsaha Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indradi Vyakulam Lokam Mrudayanti Yuge Yuge.
Thank you. We have a Sanskrit scholar with us today to chant the words. Among the incarnations, that was Srimad Bhagavatam 1.3.28. Among the incarnations described in the preceding verses, some are expansions of the Purusha avatar, Karanava Shai Mahavishnu, and some are Avesh avatars. All of these incarnations descend in each age to protect the world when it is tormented by the demons. However, Brajendra Nandan Sri Krishna, the son of the king of Braj, is Swayam Bhagavan, the only form of Bhagavan with no other source than himself. He is the original primeval personality, and Mahavishnu is his expansion. So we're establishing this Ishvara. Same principle that Bhakti-Pragyan Keshav Maharaj established yesterday. Sri Brahma, the original guru of our Sampradaya, states in his prayers,
Ishvara Parama Krishnaha Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govindaha Sarva Karana Karanam.
Sri Krishna is the Supreme Lord and Master of all other lords, and he is the embodiment of pure, eternal existence, full knowledge and unlimited bliss. He is the primeval Lord, Govinda, for he has no beginning or origin, and he himself is the source of everything, including all the incarnations of Vishnu and all his empowered servitors. He is the ultimate cause of all consequent causes. So to appreciate this, first, we can appreciate the Leela much more significantly when we know who is this person that Mother Yashoda is chasing. He's not just a little boy, he is the Supreme Lord, at the same time as performing this remarkable Leela for his own relish. Sri Krishna is the Lord of the masters of creation, who are worshipped by the whole world. He is the origin of all incarnations. However, in Braj, he offers respects to his father Nanda Baba and to Mother Yashoda and to his other elders. He becomes blissful when he loses the games he plays with his friends, and when he eats their remnants and feeds them his own. Even when he is defeated again and again in the assembly of the gopis, he considers it his great fortune. It is because of his own desire to obtain the pleasing association of the beautiful damsels of Braj that he called them at the time of the Rasa Leela. They did not call him. This Sri Krishna is Sat Chit Ananda, pure eternal existence, full knowledge and unlimited bliss. It's capturing the whole picture here. Sat means existence. Sri Krishna's inherent nature is that he exists as a fresh youth who is the best of dancers. His extremely charming form as a tender youth is even more attractive than Dwarkadish, the form of Sri Krishna when he resides in Dwarka. It is only because Sri Krishna's original form, Brajendranandan, exists that all other lords, as well as this whole world, have their existence. Everything is manifesting from this child, from this personality of Brajendranandan Shyamsundara. Chit means that knowledge which manifests all relationships, sambandha, and permanent spiritual emotions, bhav. As bhav condenses, it gradually passes through the progressive stages of prem, sneha, man, pranaya, rag, anurag and bhav, and finally transforms into Mahabhav. Mahabhav is Sri Radha herself. She is therefore known as Mahabhav Swarupini, the embodiment of Mahabhav. So straight away, my Gurudev is bringing us to this very rasik appreciation of the reality of Krishna in the form of the Chit Shakti, which manifests the relationships, and describing the stages of Bhav, or describing the stages up to Mahabhav. When the three components, pure eternal existence, Sat, full knowledge, Chit, and unlimited bliss, Anand, are manifest in one combined form, then the identity of that form is Sri Radha-kunda, the basis and entirety of Sat Chit Ananda, and the beloved of Srimati Radhika. This very entity is himself the sublimely pure existential substance, Vishuddha Sattva. So this is describing the absolute identity of Sri Krishna and his potency, his energy, Sri Radha. Sri Krishna is the object, the Vishaya, of all rasas, loving sentiments, and his devotees, the Ashraya, are the abodes of love for him. So relationship must have two, always. So there's the Vishaya and there's the Ashraya. And as we've said, Krishna, he actually wants to taste himself ultimately. He's not completely satisfied ultimately, because the Ashraya is receiving more bliss than the Vishaya. In the service mood, their bliss that they can attain is much higher than the bliss of the object that they're worshipping, the Vishaya. Krishna actually only reaches Mahabhav stage. But the gopis, they go to Ruda and Adi Ruda. The Ashraya, yes, they go higher. Because they're tasting, they're serving. Oh, it's mentioned here. Krishna is the object, the Vishaya of all rasas, loving sentiments, and his devotees are the Ashraya, the abodes of love for him. As the object of love, he cannot comprehend the topmost transformations exhibited by his devotees. He can't reach that place of bliss that the servitors are experiencing. The abodes of love for him, the Ashraya, when they experience their various moods, such as Ruda and Adi Ruda, he can't experience that. This is why Krishna advents again as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he has a desire to taste himself through the mood of being a devotee. Mahaprabhu advents as the devotee. Therefore, Sri Krishna accepts the form of Sri Satchidananda Gaurahari and becomes radiant with the mood and bodily complexion of Sri Radha, the supreme abode of love for Krishna. In that form, he fulfills his three longings. So remember his three longings: Shri Radhaya Pranaya Mahima Kidrishoganaiva, that Mahima, to understand the glories of Radha. Swadhyena Adbhuta Madhurima Kidrisho. Srimadaya, the Shri Radhaya Pranaya Mahima, the greatness. Kidrisho Madhya Sokyam Swadhyena Adbhuta Madhurima Kidrisho. This Madhurima, the sweetness of Krishna's form, is being tasted by the Ashraya. Now Krishna wants to taste the Madhurima, the Adbhuta, the astonishing sweet qualities within himself. Adbhuta Madhurima. And then Sokyam Kasyam Tad Anubhavita Kidrisham Vetiloba. He wants to taste the happiness that Sri Radhika experiences by receiving the sweetness of his love. So these three desires are there in the Adi Lila, verse 7. 7. So these are the three desires of Mahaprabhu. So fulfills his three longings. In many places throughout Srimad Bhagavatam, the sweetness of Sri Krishna's beautiful form, Rup, has been described. However, among all of them, three specific descriptions are extraordinarily wonderful and touch the heart. The first description was spoken by Sri Brahma, the grandfather of the universe.
Brahmovacha Naumidhyate Bravapushe Tadidambaraya Gunjavatam Saparipicchala Sanmukhaya Vanyasraje Kavalavetra Vishana Venu Lakshmasriye Mrudupade Pasupangajaya.
This is Srimad Bhagavatam 10:14:1. These are the prayers that Lord Brahma, he offers Krishna in his mood after the Brahma Vimohan Leela. O Master of the entire universe, only you are worthy of being praised. O Brajendranandan, son of the king of Braj, your body, appearing like a fresh rain cloud, is adorned with a yellow cloth that glistens like lightning and appears amazingly brilliant. Because you are wearing Makara-shaped earrings and a peacock feather on your head, your lotus face radiates an uncommon splendor. Around your neck is a garland made of innumerable kinds of flowers, forest flowers and leaves. Tucked under your arm are a cane and a buffalo horn. Your flute, which is tied by your waist belt, looks very beautiful. In your lovely, soft hands is a morsel of yogurt and rice. Even you are attracted by this cowherd boy attire of yours. I simply fall to the ground like a stick again and again at your feet, which are softer than lotuses, and which are marked with all the auspicious signs. So Lord Brahma is completely overwhelmed by Krishna's beauty in Vrindavan. Lord Brahma has never seen this beauty before. Lord Brahma's Ishtadev is Garbhodakshai Vishnu, like a Narayan manifestation. When he's seeing Krishna in Vrindavan, he's stunned by the mood and sweetness of Krishna's form. The second description was spoken by the wives of the Brahmanas of Mathura.
Shyamam hiranya paridhim vanamalya barha dhatu pravala natavesha manuvrajamse vinyasta hasta amitarena dhunana mabjam karnotpalalaka kapola mukhabjahasam.
Srimad Bhagavatam 10:23-22. So this is in the pastime of the Brahman wives. His complexion was dark bluish, like a fresh monsoon rain cloud, and the glistening yellow cloth that was draped on his shoulders subdued the splendor of gold. There was a garland of forest flowers around his neck, and a beautiful peacock feather splendidly adorned his head. Playful designs were painted on his limbs with colorful minerals, and he had decorated himself with bunches of newly sprouted leaves. He looked just like a dramatic dancer. He was resting one hand on the shoulder of his friend, and with the other hand he was playfully twirling a lotus flower. Ornaments decorated his ears, and curls of black hair were cascading down his cheeks of his lotus face, as his lotus face blossomed with a mild, playful smile. These are extraordinary descriptions of Krishna's absolute beauty. The third description, found in Venugita, where the gopis sang about Krishna's flute, was spoken by Srila Shukadeva Goswami. Here he is describing the sweetness of Sri Krishna's beautiful form as revealed in the hearts of the Braja gopis.
Barhapidam natavaravapuh karnayo karnikaram bibhradvasak kanakakapisham vaijayantim cha malam randhran venoradhara sudhaya purayan gopavrundair vrundaranyam swapada ramanam pravishad gita kirtihi.
Srimad Bhagavatam 10:21-5. So this is from the Venugita. Within their hearts, the damsels of Braj began to see that Sri Krishna entered the charming forests of Vrindavan, accompanied by his cowherd boyfriends. A peacock feather decorated the top of his head, and yellow Karnikara Orlando flowers were resting on top of his ears. He wore a golden yellow garment on his body, and a beautiful fragrant garland strung from 5 kinds of forest flowers circled his neck and hung down to his knees. Sri Krishna appeared like the best of dancers, performing a supremely captivating drama upon a stage. He filled up the holes of his flute with the nectar of his lips, as the cowherd boys followed behind him, singing his glories, which purify the entire world. In this way, the forest of Vrindavan, which is more charming than the divine realm of Vaikuntha, has become even more splendid than the impressions of his adorable lotus feet, which are marked with all the auspicious symbols like the conch and disc. So again, this is another remarkable verse describing Krishna's exquisite beauty, because this is all in reference to, in the verse that we're singing, it's saying about Krishna's beauty. This is the second part. The second line is describing the exceptional beauty. So my Gurudev is pulling out these verses from Shastra to support the understanding of Krishna's ultimate beauty. There is yet another description of his beauty within the 5 chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam that recount the Ras Leela. The gopis, allured by the bewildering potency of Sri Krishna's flute song, left their homes in the middle of the night and went to Sri Krishna. Yet when they came before him, he teased them and told them to return to their homes. At that time, the gopis described the sweetness of Sri Krishna's beautiful form.
Kastrainyate kalapadaya tamurchitena sammohitarya charitan chale trilokyam trailokya saubhagamidam cha niriksha rupam yadgo dvijadruma murgaha pulakanya bibhran.
We're appreciating the absolute unique individuality of Brajendrananda and Shyam Sundar when we read in Jaiva Dharma in the 13th chapter. It's describing the qualities of all the devas and the qualities of Lord Narayan. And then there's 4 special qualities that are only sitting with Brajendrananda and Shyam Sundar. It's Venu Madhuri, Prema Madhuri, Leela Madhuri, and Rup Madhuri. These 4 qualities no one else possesses except Brajendrananda and Shyam Sundar. So this is substantiating this beautiful form of the Lord. O Sri Shyamasundara, from your flute come the most endearing, slowly rolling melodies. Your beautiful form brings auspiciousness upon the entire universe. Moreover, upon seeing your beautiful form, even the bodies of the cows, birds, trees, and deers erupt with horripilation. After hearing the sweet melodies of your flute and beholding your captivating form, is there any woman in all the 3 worlds who would not become attached to you and, leaving aside all proper conduct of shyness, deviate from her religious principles? So this is a very important verse. Upon hearing the sound of Krishna's flute, the gopis of Braj forgot everything, their fear, hesitation, patience, dignity, and so forth. Regardless of the condition they were in, they eagerly ran to meet Sri Krishna, without even calling their dearmost girlfriends, the Pranpriya Sakhis. They ran to him. Each gopi thought, Sri Krishna is calling only me. When Sri Krishna saw that the gopis, who are the incomparable treasure of Braj, had come to him, he tried to bewilder them with delightful art of speaking. So we often make this point of appreciating that the gopis ran alone. So we also in our bhajan are alone, ultimately. We will die alone. We won't be sitting with lots of other people necessarily when we're leaving our bodies. It'll be a single experience. So if we develop too much dependency on friends, etc., and association in this world, then it's going to be very difficult at the time of death when you're just completely alone. So this is always brought out, that the gopis, they ran alone. Their surrender was performed alone. Krishna is saying, "O beautiful cowherd girls, why have you come here alone at this time of the night? Have you come to see nature's splendor and the beauty of this forest? If so, then return to your homes now. The duty of a lady of noble descent is to serve her husband, father, brothers, and friends. Even if her husband is bad-natured, unfortunate, foolish, old, diseased, or poor, her duty is to serve him. Go back to your homes." So this is the Pranaya Geet that is spoken at the beginning of the 29th chapter. This is a heart-wrenching Geet, actually, where the gopis are feeling separation. At the same time, they're meeting with Krishna. This is a special dynamic because they're in Krishna's presence, but they're feeling that they have to leave. They're not sure if Krishna is teasing them or not. They have to accept the gross words that Krishna is saying, even though the subtle innuendo, the subtle background feeling is that perhaps Krishna doesn't want us to leave. He wants us to stay with him. But they're not sure of that because Krishna, his words are indicating that they should go back to their husbands. So they become mortified. They want to leave their bodies. They're thinking, we are not good enough for Krishna. This is what they're thinking. We are not sufficiently qualified to be with Krishna. This is a reflection of their deep, deep humility. We were saying the other day how Prem and humility are synonymous. These two qualities, prem and who is the most humble in existence is Sri Radhika. She is the most humble. In contrast to the conditioned soul, it's completely the opposite. It's pride and envy. These are the qualities of the conditioned soul. They're always looking at other people in an envious way, and they're very proud of anything that they possess. So it's a complete contrast, the conditioned life and the life of those in transcendental progress. Hearing these unpleasant words from their dear most beloved, the gopis became morose and pained at heart. They answered, "Dear Shyamasundar, your advice is correct, but by instructing us, you have become our guru, and one should first serve one's guru. Now please accept our service. Till this moment, our hearts were absorbed in household duties, but now you have stolen our hearts. How will we return to our homes?" So the gopis counter Krishna's teasing words with saying that this is your fault that we're here, because Krishna is trying to make them feel some burden of guilt at being in the forest. But the gopis are turning it back to Krishna. You're the one that actually brought us into the forest. When Krishna was concluding his manifest pastimes, he called upon Sri Uddhav and told him, "Soon I will leave you behind in this world to propagate Bhagavad Dharma." After Sri Krishna actually disappeared from this world, Sri Uddhav set out for Braj, overwhelmed by separation from him. On the way, he met Sri Vidura and told him that Sri Krishna had concluded his pastimes. In that context, Sri Uddhav describes Krishna's beautiful form as follows. So another beautiful description of his form.
Yanmarcha leelaupayikam swayoga maya balam darshayata gruhitam visvapanam swasya saubaghardehe param padam bhushana bhushanangam.
This is Srimad Bhagavatam 3:2-12. By the power of his internal potency, Yogamaya, Sri Krishna exhibited his original eternal form within this mortal sphere, a form which is perfectly suited for his human-like pastimes, a form so captivating that even he is astonished when he sees himself. His beautiful form is the embodiment of the topmost limit of exceedingly good fortune and opulence. Indeed, ornaments usually beautify the person who wears them, but Krishna's form is so beautiful that he actually beautifies his own ornaments, In other words, compared to all other divine forms in existence, the beauty of his form is supremely divine. And we were describing yesterday how this quality of beauty is the principle, the angi of Krishna. This is the principal captivating quality. If you see Krishna, you're going to just be captivated by his beauty entirely. That'll be the stunning aspect. When we read Madhuri Kadambini, we see that this is described in the 8th chapter about the sadhak appreciating Krishna's beauty more and more and more. And the advancing sadhak can begin to perceive Krishna's beauty within all of jivas. Every jiva has Paramatma. Supersoul is there. Krishna is in the heart of all jivas, so there is great beauty within the heart of all jivas. And if we always are looking for that beauty in every personality that we're, or every individual that we're seeing, even in the animals, etc., we start to see the beauty of this world, which is a reflection of the beauty in Goloka Vrindavan. It's all present right here. We start to see that beauty gradually. Furthermore, when Sri Krishna disappeared from the gopis at the time of the Ras Leela, the gopis sang about their separation from him in deep lamentation. Hearing that kirtan, Sri Krishna, unable to restrain himself, again appeared in their midst. Sri Shukadeva Goswami describes his beauty at that time.
तासामाविरभूच्छौरिः स्मयमान मुखाम्बुजः पीताम्बरधरः स्रग्वी साक्षात् मन्मथमन्मदः.
Srimad Bhagavatam 10:32-2. When Sri Krishna appeared before the gopis, his lotus face blossomed with a smile, a mild smile. His beautiful forest flower garland decorated his neck and chest, and a yellow cloth graced his shoulders. He even churned the mind of the God of love, who agitates the minds of all, for he is directly the original, transcendental God of love. Why are we saying all these beautiful verses? To appreciate the nature of this remarkable Leela, how this personality, who we're describing as the embodiment of all beauty, was captured by Mother Yashoda. So how extraordinary is Krishna's pastimes to allow his mother to capture him and bind him even. This is what's so remarkable about this Dambandal Leela, is that he's able to be captured and he is the most beautiful person in all existence, and yet Mother Yashoda, through the immensity of her love, because we were saying the other day how the only quality within the spiritual realm is love. We as conditioned souls here in this world are trying to understand this, or trying to appreciate what is the excellence of that love, what is the nature of that love. All our scriptures are referencing examples of that love. So this Damordarastakam is the prime example of this love that Mother Yashoda holds towards Krishna. As well, we are appreciating the gopis' love towards Krishna, more than Krishna's love towards them. This is how we can get some perspective on it. He says, Pitambadara. At first Krishna was clasping the yellow cloth he wore as an upper garment between his hands. The import of this is as follows. When Sri Krishna saw the gopis' moods of separation from him, he wiped away their tears with his yellow cloth. He realized that he had given them so much trouble to his dear beloveds, and thus he considered himself an offender. Begging pardon for his offense, he then placed part of his yellow garment between his teeth, as though biting a piece of straw, a sign of great humility. The appearance of his beautiful form at that time was capable of agitating the minds of millions and millions of cupids. When Sri Shukadeva Goswami spoke this verse, he became absorbed in the moods of the gopis. In that state, forgetful of himself, he became perturbed and addressed Sri Krishna as Sori. By calling him Sori in the mood of an irritated gopi, Sri Shukadeva Goswami was saying, "You are cruel like a warrior. You are not from the soft-hearted cowherd dynasty. Otherwise you would not have left us." When Sri Krishna, manifesting all the splendor of his incomparable form, appeared in the assembly of the gopis, they became completely overwhelmed with love for him. The love that Sri Bhagavan's associates have for him within their hearts determines how much his immaculate beauty is revealed. It's reflected back. Sri Bhagavan manifests his personal sweetness according to the greatness of his associates' love for him. Sri Shukadeva further clarifies this.
Chakasa gopi parishadgatorchita strailokya lakshmyeka padam vapurdadhat.
Srimad Bhagavatam 10:32-14. As Bhagavan Sri Krishna sat among thousands upon thousands of gopis who were all worshipping him, he appeared so splendid. All beauty throughout the three worlds, all the beauty ever manifest in the past, all the beauty manifest now, and all the beauty that will ever manifest in the future is only the dim glow from the drop of Sri Bhagavan's own beauty. He alone is the abode of all beauty. And we were saying yesterday, this is called Lavanamrita, the source, the origin of all beauty. So we'll stop here and continue tomorrow. So Shri Brajendanandan Sham Sundar Ki Jai. These are very beautiful meditations for us to absorb ourselves in during this month of Kartik. It's Radha's month, and we are always considering that Radhika is the ashraya, she is the taster of this beauty, and therefore she is receiving such a sweetness as being the ashraya. So these are very beautiful meditations for us. So Sri Damordarastakam ki jai. But we're coming to our study of this Damordarastakam, and yesterday we were immersed in the appreciation of Krishna's supreme beauty, his absolute beauty, his stunning beauty. Everything about Krishna is just so beautiful. And I put a file on the WhatsApp thread showing how the beauty represents the angi. It's the principal quality of Krishna. And this is what we described yesterday. And we went through these different verses spoken by Lord Brahma, spoken by the Brahmanis when they went to meet Krishna in the forest, and spoken by Uddhav. So we had these beautiful verses describing the beauty of Krishna, Krishna's exceptional beauty. So today we've reached page 20, and we're continuing with the same topic. So Sri Narayan is also beautiful. Attracted by his beautiful form, Lakshmi remains engaged in the service of his worshipful feet, day and night. However, as soon as she remembers the sweetness of Sri Krishna within her heart, she longs to see his sweet form directly and resolves, "Since I cannot obtain entrance into Ras Leela, I will watch it from a distance." What is the reason for this eagerness? It has been said that the incomparable form that Sri Krishna manifested within the Ras Leela in the assembly of the gopis was never exhibited anywhere else. What is that form like? His form churns the mind of even Cupid, who agitates the minds of all, for he is directly the original, transcendental Cupid. When we reference Cupid, we're referencing the personified form of love itself, the personified form of sweetness is the Cupid that we're mentioning. But Krishna is like billions of Cupids, even more so than that personified form. And Lakshmi Devi, she's enchanted by this form that she's perceiving during the Rasa Leela, and she wants to leave her husband, Lord Narayan. In the first verse of Sri Damordarastakam, Sri Satyabrat Muni describes the very same enchanting form of Sri Krishna as a 2.5-year-old baby running away from Mother Yashoda. As he fled from his mother, he repeatedly looked behind him with terrified glances. His earrings shimmered on his cheeks, and his neck was decorated by 3 graceful lines. Other than the auspicious gold cord around his waist and a pair of ankle bells clasping his worshipable lotus feet, resonating with unsurpassed charm, his tiny form was completely naked. We didn't read this yesterday, did we? No. The conclusion that the manifestation of Sri Krishna's beauty is relative to his devotees' love for him is also established by Srila Sanatana Goswami in his Sri Brihat Bhagavatamrita. The unique qualities of Sri Bhagavan's beauty manifest in accordance with the unique qualities of his associates. So Krishna is reflecting his beauty back to his associates. So when Krishna is with the gopis, for example, he's at his pinnacle of beauty. When he's with Mother Yashoda, he's also at the pinnacle of his Vatsalya, his childlike beauty. And with Nanda Baba also. So there's this mood of reciprocation always in Krishna and his escalating beauty, depending on the association that he's keeping. In order to bestow his mercy upon the souls who were indifferent to him, and to bless them with Braja Prem, the love exhibited by the eternal inhabitants of Braj. Sri Krishna manifested his beautiful form as a fresh youth, the best of dancers, dressed as a cowherd boy, holding a flute in his hands. This very form of Sri Krishna is the origin and basis of all his forms in Mathura and Dwarka, and is also the source of all other avatars. So this form of Brajendranandan Shyam Sundar is the basis, it's the pinnacle, it's the origin. Swayam Bhagavan, that's the original, is Brajendranandan Shyam Sundar. There are so many other forms, so many other avatars and so on. They all have beauty, they all have so many transcendental qualities, but the culmination of all of those rests in Brajendranandan Shyam Sundar. And we said that verse yesterday, Ete Kamsa Kalapum Sam, Krishna Stu Bhagavan Swayam. That Sri Krishna is the principle of all avatars. Even though the main subject of Srila Sanatana Goswami's commentary on this verse is Sri Krishna's childhood pastimes, he has quoted a description of Sri Krishna's beautiful form exhibited at the time of the Rasa Leela in order to convey the extraordinary glory of that particular form. So even though we're talking about child Krishna in this Damodar Leela, Sanatana Goswami has referenced the exquisite form of Krishna during the Rasa Leela. And my Gurudev has taken that and opened that right out, just for our deeper appreciation. We're appreciating Krishna here as a child, and we're appreciating the relationship of Vatsalya Bhav of Mother Yashoda towards baby Krishna, which is heart-melting. But we're also appreciating simultaneously the original form of the Lord in the Rasa Leela. So the whole picture is being presented to us, the entirety of it is. Nothing is being left out. In chapter 9 of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a description of Sri Damodar Leela. So now we come back to the Leela after that description of beauty. Many gopis constantly complained to Sri Yashoda, "Your son steals from our houses and eats our butter. O Yashoda, worse than that, he throws milk, yogurt, and butter everywhere. If he actually ate it, it would be all right, but he doesn't. He smashes our pots of milk and yogurt and unties the calves. How can we tolerate this daily loss of milk and yogurt any longer? We have all decided to leave your settlement of Braj and live elsewhere." Why does Krishna steal the milk of the gopis? Because he knows that they love him. He knows in their hearts they're actually making that milk for him. They're making that butter for him. So he's reciprocating. That's what he's doing. He's reciprocating with the elder gopis and taking their makkan and so on like that. But of course, Yogamaya is covering it to make it seem like a village pastime, which is what Krishna wants to sit in. But at the same time, there's this understanding that Krishna is fully reciprocating with the elder gopis, even to such an extent later on in the Brahma Vimohan Leela, he becomes all of their sons. So this is how munificent, how kind, how generous is Krishna. Mother Yashoda heard these complaints every day. She began to wonder, could it be that my darling boy finds the butter that comes from his own home not tasty? Is it sour? Is that why he doesn't eat it, but instead sneaks into the houses of other gopis to steal their butter? I wonder if butter stealing was a regular habit in Vrindavan before Krishna manifested. I don't think it was, I don't know. The children, they go from house to house stealing butter? I don't think so. In Radha-kunda, children go house to house looking for butter, looking for sweets, looking for something. I think this is just unique for Krishna. If that is the case, then today I will prepare sweet butter for my dear son with my own hands. He will surely eat that and not go to others' houses to steal their butter. It was the festival of Deepavali. so she gave leave to all her servants and maidservants. She personally milked Mangala, Ganga, Pisangi, and other cows, and then boiled the milk until it started condensing. When it was the right warmth, she added yogurt culture to it, and then in the early morning, she personally set to churning the freshly cultured yogurt. As she was churning, she became completely immersed in love for her darling son and began to sing. As the churning rod rotated back and forth, it made a deep reverberating sound, dik, like a large drum head of a mridanga, and also a tapping sound, tan, like a small drum head. Thus the full sound of diktan, diktan. The full sound was diktan, diktan. The meaning implied is that any soul who does not worship and remember Sri Radha and Krishna leads a life that is so dull, tan, and he is no better than an animal. Such a soul is condemned, dik. Do you understand that? Can you explain that?
Yes, because in Hindi we say that like dhikkar hona, in Hindi we say that. So dhik is from there, that word dhik. Yeah.
Diktam, diktam, the sound, mudam, the sound.
Yes, yes. Tan.
Diktam, diktam, the
Yes.
sound.
But why does that indicate that the tan sound is indicating that you are so dull?
It is a dull sound.
The sound of the mridanga is not dull. I can't quite understand this analogy actually. The meaning in...
Actually, another book I read, when is Krishna take Markan and anything, that time bell and Damodara, they are also cannot stop. They automatically they sound.
Go, sounding, yeah. But why is it saying the meaning implied is that any soul who does not worship and remember Radha and Krishna leads a life that is so dull, tan, that he is no better than an animal? Well, we can understand that, of course, that someone who doesn't embrace Radha and Krishna's worship is like an animal. But why is that indicated by the sound of tan, dik? I can't quite understand that.
Tan in Hindi it means ki whenever a person is singing in a proper
This is
tan
according to
lena.
the mridanga. We're just playing the mridanga here. It's because the sound of the
Tan lena, so it's like
dik
two-
and tan.
There is
It's
the
done
Goswami
actually.
telling, when Krishna eating, that time bell, we are
Yes,
calling to bell.
yes, yes.
Then bell telling, today Krishna eating makhan, why I am stop? Then
Ah.
they are sounding.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, I'll have to think about that more. As she churned, the ringing of her bangles sounded like the ringing of cartels. Lost in thoughts of her darling son, she started to sing. In this stotram, Sri Bilvamangala Thakur has also described how Mother Yashoda began to sing in this pastime.
क्वचित् प्रभाते दधिपूर्णपात्रे निक्षिप्य मन्धं युवती मुकुन्दम् आलोक्य गानं विविधं करोति गोविन्द दामोदर माधवेति.
Sri Govinda Damodar Stotram 19. Once at dawn, as Sri Yashoda Devi was about to place the churning rod in a pot of yogurt, she gazed upon her child Mukunda. At once she became overwhelmed with love and sang this wonderful song. O my Govinda, my Damodar, O my dear Madhava. Sri Krishna, the darling son of Mother Yashoda, forever begs parental love from his mother. Sri Yashoda was completely absorbed in the moods of her song and was brimming with affection for Krishna. So Mother Yashoda is the embodiment of Vatsalya Prem for Krishna. When he heard her singing, her voice saturated with love for him, he could not restrain himself. He began to think, every day Mother sings little songs with great tenderness to awaken me. But today she has not come and I am so hungry. Krishna is in another room. The Supreme Lord of everything, who is independently blissful, and self-satisfied, Atmaram and Aptakam, was hungry. He began to cry loudly for his mother's breast milk. So he's in another room, and this mother is singing. The sound of the churning rod, diktan, diktan, is going. The sound of her ankle bells, bracelets are going. Mother Yashoda cannot hear this. My dear Lord, how glorious you are. On this day, the effect of Sri Krishna's crying remained unknown to anyone. It simply merged into the fathomless ocean of Mother Yashoda's parental affection, for she was so absorbed in her Sankirtan that she was unable to hear him. With great difficulty, Kanaya, who was lying on his belly, moved little by little to the edge of the bed and then got down. We described this yesterday, how he climbs down. Rubbing his eyes and crying, he somehow made it to where his mother was churning, tottering like an intoxicated elephant along the way. He caught hold of the churning rod and stopped it from twirling. Mother Yashoda's absorption broke. Seeing her darling son at her side, she immediately sat him on her lap and began breastfeeding him. Just by seeing her dear Krishna, her limbs became decorated with all the Ashtasattvika bhavs, those 8 types of bodily transformations arising from ecstatic love of God. Furthermore, the special emotion of motherly affection manifested, namely milk, began to flow from her breasts. According to the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, baby Krishna is the Vishaya Alamban of Vatsalya Bhav. That is, he is the object upon which motherly love depends. His mother, Sri Yashoda, is the Ashraya Alamban, or the reservoir of love for him. Alamban means the reservoir. So she is the reservoir of love for him. Krishna is the Vishaya, the object of that love. Baby Krishna's gorgeous face is the Udipan, or the stimulus that rouses motherly love. And Mother Yashoda's tears, the standing on end of her bodily hairs, the flowing of milk from her breasts, and so on, are the Sattvika bhavs, or transformations of ecstasy in her body. This is a very rasic description of actually their relationship. This rasa is in Vatsalya ras, but this Vatsalya ras is so potent. I can remember when I first heard my Gurudev describe this Vatsalya prema of Mother Yashoda. This was so heart-melting, because this is probably easier for us to relate to than the gopis prema. We can remember mother and the mother's love, etc. It's more simply accessible. So when these descriptions come, we can hear them very easily. All of these ingredients of love, namely Vibhav, Vishaya Alamban, Ashraya Alamban, and Udipan, Anubhav, deep emotions that are realized through outward expressions of the body, and so forth, then combined with Mother Yashoda's own Staibhav, namely Vatsalya Rati, and began to make her relish Vatsalya Ras. So these ingredients of rasa are fascinating to appreciate, how they mix and how this ras will manifest in the world of the heart. What is the nature of rasa? How does it manifest? Suddenly the milk started boiling over, as if it were thinking, Mother Yashoda's breasts are the source of all the milk contained within all the universes. Her supply of breast milk is inexhaustible, and the stomach of baby Kanaya is not at all small. All the universes can fit inside it. So all the universes are in the abdomen of the Lord. She will never tire of breastfeeding him, and he can drink forever. In that case, I will always remain bereft of the opportunity to serve Sri Krishna. Therefore, it is pointless to maintain my worthless life, a life devoid of service. Thinking like this, the milk began to sacrifice himself into the fire. So the milk began to... Practicing devotees, sadhaks, should also have this type of anxiousness. They should think, If, while performing bhajan, we do not gain even a glimpse of Sri Bhagavan or realize the mercy of his pastimes and divine abode, then our lives are worthless. Deprived of seeing Gaurasundar and his associates, Sri Narottam Das Thakur says,
Ashane kutiba matha anale pashiba gaurange guner nidhi kotha gela pabo.
so if we don't have this mood of anxiousness, this anxious greed, then what is the value of our lives? Narottam is saying, I shall dash my head upon a stone or enter into a blazing fire. Where will I find that treasure house of all wonderful qualities, Sri Gauranga? So this type of desperate greed and enthusiasm, this utsaha, must be prayed for. If it's not manifesting in the heart, we must pray for that utsaha to bring pleasure to the Lord. In this regard, it is important to carefully deliberate on Srila Rupa Goswami's definition of Uttam Bhakti, or pure devotion. So my Gurudev is putting the Leela into place for the sadhak to benefit greatly from this Leela. This whole Leela is escalating from verse 1, 2, 3, all the way through. It's an escalation of increasing bliss and sweetness all the way through. So this is the dynamic of bhakti herself. It's always progressing. It has to be moving. If it becomes static, then there's no waves, then we become despondent. It must be always increasing. So now this verse, Anya vilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam anukulyena krishna anushilanam bhakti uttama. This is Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.1.11. When bhakti is performed without any other desire than the aspiration to bring happiness to Krishna, when it is not covered by the endeavor to accumulate dry knowledge, result-orientated work, or any other practice for attaining a goal unrelated to him, and when it is cultivated solely with a favorable disposition towards him and for his benefit, then it is Uttam Bhakti, supremely pure devotion. So in this verse, there are other types of bhakti that we consider also. There's a rope siddha bhakti. What is a rope siddha bhakti? A rope siddha bhakti is when I like to cook, so I'll cook for Krishna. I like to do the garden, so I'll just put the fruits for Krishna at the end. But the initial inspiration for doing that seva was not to please Krishna. The initial inspiration was because I like to do it. Or I like to paint, I like to draw, so I'll draw for Krishna. This is a rope siddha bhakti. You understand fully, clearly, what that is? A rope siddha bhakti. So there's some defect there because we put our desire first, in fact. I like to do this, so I'll do it for Krishna. It's not that I'm one-pointed, and then there's Sangha Siddha Bhakti. That's following all the qualities of the Vaishnavas without the final ingredient of absolute Sharanagati. We might perceive all the different Vaishnava qualities and aspire to attain those qualities. But if they're not focusing on the ultimate quality of Sharanagat to Krishna, to bringing him pleasure, then there's some defect, because again, it's focusing on myself. Even Sharanagat itself is not ultimately bhakti. It's the threshold of bhakti. It's the doorway into bhakti, because Sharanagat itself is about you. It's about me surrendering to Krishna. It's not about pleasing Krishna. It's about how can I surrender to him. So Sharanagat itself is the doorway into bhakti. We must be Sharanagat to begin bhakti. But actually, Sharanagat by itself is not Shuddha Bhakti, because it's looking at ourselves being surrendered. We're trying to bring ourselves to that full Krishna says at the end of Bhagavad Gita, what's that? Sarvadhamam parityaja mam ekam sharanam braja. Give up everything and surrender unto me. That's the essence of that Bhagavad Gita, but that's not taking us, it's the doorway to bhakti. Do you understand? Fully. These are quite subtle points, actually. In this verse, the characteristics which describe bhakti are divided into two categories, Swarup Lakshan and Tatastha Lakshan. The first category, Swarup Lakshan, indicates the intrinsic qualities of bhakti. This Swarup Lakshan is the second two lines. This is what is bhakti, the Swarup Lakshan. That's the second two lines. The first two lines are the Tatastha Lakshan, which includes the marginal qualities of bhakti. You understand? These two considerations in this verse. Tatastha is first and then is Swarup Lakshan. To communicate how our bhakti can be perfected, the modifier anukulyena, with a favorable disposition, has been used because one cannot perform bhakti with an unfavorable disposition. So then he's going to give examples of this. That is to say, one who acts in opposition to Sri Krishna cannot be performing bhakti. So now the examples are going to come. Certain exalted, realized personalities have stated that anukulyena means the tendency to perform activities that bring pleasure to Krishna, and that the inclination to please him with a favorable disposition is bhakti. That desire to please Krishna from the beginning is bhakti. However, if this latter definition is accepted, one of two faults may arise. Some things are encompassed by this definition which should not be included within a description of bhakti. This is called ativyapti dosh, the fault of overextending the definition. So, if you study that verse in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it explains these 2 points of atyapti dosh and avyapti dosh. These two considerations, which we're going to hear now. Similarly, it excludes things that should be included within the description. This is called avyapti dosh, the fault of under-extension of the definition. We can remember these terms because ativyapti is a longer word than avyapti. Ativyapti is longer. So ativyapti is the over-extension and avyapti is the under-extension. For example, in the wrestling match, Chanura, Mustika, and other demons were striking Krishna's limbs. Sri Krishna was certainly enlivened by their attack and began to relish the mood of being a great hero, Viraras. How can the attacks of the demons be understood as pleasurable for Sri Krishna? In answer to this, it is found in part of the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:13-30. Manasvinam iva sat samprahara. Although in the eyes of ordinary people, a terrifying battle with an enemy seems torturous, it is in fact exhilarating for the fighters. The fighters themselves go into another state of consciousness. In that case, if we conclude that the demons' horrible attacks during the wrestling match were acts of bhakti because they gave pleasure to Krishna, then the fault of ativyapti, overextension of the definition, arises. Even though these malevolent endeavors cause Sri Krishna to feel pleasure, which is apparently the quality of bhakti, they were actually strictly opposed to bhakti because the wrestlers had no desire to please Krishna. They wanted to kill Krishna. That was their desire, to kill Krishna. But Krishna was pleased to have a wrestle. Krishna would wrestle with the boys regularly in the pasturing grounds, and to have a good wrestling opponent was very pleasurable for Krishna. He just killed Kuvalyapidi, the elephant, huge elephant. How strong and powerful is Krishna? And then he came to face these two mighty, they were so huge, professional wrestlers, 5,000 years ago, massive persons. And Krishna was just a small, tender boy. And it's described how the spectators in the audience looking at this were very shocked and horrified. They didn't like to see that. They thought Dharma was being transgressed in the, in that arena of Kamsa. And they wanted to go, but Krishna was relishing it. But it's not bhakti, because bhakti is a place in the heart where you desire to please Krishna. So how could it be bhakti? It was not bhakti. So that's the overextension of the rule. Conversely, consider the example of Mother Yashoda breastfeeding Sri Krishna as he lay on her lap. At the same time, the milk she had kept on the stove was boiling over into the fire. After taking Krishna, who was not yet satisfied, off her lap, she went to save the milk. This caused him to experience much displeasure, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 10.9.6, Sanjata Kopa Spurit Arun Adaram. His tiny reddish lips began quivering from anger. Mother Yashoda's actions greatly displeased Sri Krishna. But if we conclude that her endeavor does not come within the definition of bhakti, then the fault of avyapti, under extension of the definition, arises. So very interesting points to appreciate each time. This ativyapti, over extension, and avyapti, under extension of the rule of bhakti. We have to understand what is bhakti. It's so important as we move along this path to know what is Shuddha bhakti, and to also know what is Gyan and what is Karma. We have to know the distinction. This will be discussed next. The nature of exalted devotees, Mahabhagavats, is that they want to engage every soul in Krishna's service. When Mother Yashoda saw that the milk was sacrificing himself into the fire by boiling over because he was bereft of Krishna's service, she immediately removed her darling boy from her lap and tried to save it. But this is not going into the points about Gyan and Karma. But we should understand that if just simply Gyan is being spoken without a mood of and focus of devotion, then it's very dry. And there are many brilliant Gyanis on the circuits. They can pronounce so many beautiful verses, etc. But if the heart isn't focused on developing service directly to Krishna, what is the value of that Gyan? We should understand. Two types of Gyan can be accepted. This Tat Padartha Gyan and Tvam Padartha Gyan. This Tat means about knowledge of Krishna. Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan, Raso Vaisa. Krishna is Achintya Sarva Shaktiman. Krishna is that Supreme Lord, that Parama Shakti, Parama Shakti. Krishna is all of these powerful truths. And if the knowledge is aimed at glorifying him, then bhakti will arise in the heart. But if the presentation is aimed at just entering into the wonderment, because the scripture is packed with all different explanations that can really excite the mental faculty of the mind, rather than bring it into the heart region where the connection with Radha and Krishna resides. It's in the heart region, not in the brain. We have to come down from there into the heart region to connect with the Lord. We use the Gyan to access bhakti, but the Gyan by itself is useless. We must understand this point carefully. So Krishna, with both of his hands, baby Krishna, firmly caught hold of his mother's breast, and with his legs he clung to her waist. He held on to his mother in this way with all his might. Putana, who had the strength of 10,000 elephants, could not free herself from his grip But in the presence of Mother Yashoda's Vatsalya Prem, Sri Krishna, the possessor of all potency, could not stop her from putting him down. So the power of Prem, this power of Prem is demonstrated by Mother Yashoda here. Because of her mighty Vatsalya Prem, it was very easy for her just to set Krishna aside. With one hand, Mother Yashoda easily pushed him from her breast. Then she removed him from her lap, sat him down nearby, and went to save the milk. The Siddhanta behind this incident is that Mother Yashoda's love for Sri Krishna is much greater than his love for her. This is the case of the gopis also. The gopis' love for Krishna is much greater than his love for them. But Krishna reciprocates with them according to their love. Yayatamam prapadyante. Indeed, Sri Krishna comes under the control of her love. In the presence of this motherly love, imbued with deep possessiveness of all of Bhagavan's unlimited majestic potencies are defeated. His potencies of being the Supreme Personality of Godhead are completely dismantled when that immense affection is directed towards him. All that Aishwarya Bhav disappears. Here, another point is to be considered. Although the superlative manifestation of Sri Krishna's unlimited opulence, Aishwarya, is found only in Braj, it remains submerged in the fathomless ocean of sweetness contained within the Braj pastimes. That is to say, even when Sri Krishna's infinite opulence is fully revealed, it easily fits within the all-accommodating embrace of Braja's sweetness. Because Krishna's Aishwarya is always defeated by the immensity of the love. This is how we can appreciate the nature of the Braj pastimes, the Brijbasis, because their love is so immense that it will cover any exhibition of opulence, just like when Krishna is lifting Govardhan Hill. That how could you get a more opulent act than lifting Govardhan Hill? But none of the Brijbasis thought that this is the Supreme Lord, because of their effect. This is just little Krishna who gets hungry, lies, cheats, does so many things. How can this be God? They can't think like that, because their love for Krishna is so much higher than their desire to worship him. It's a very, very important point that by the mercy of Mahaprabhu, we're able to understand these points. It's all the mercy of Mahaprabhu that we're able to actually penetrate these deeper considerations of what is actually bhakti, what is real love. Mother Yashoda splashed cold water into the pot of boiling milk as if to pacify it. "I'm going to use you for Krishna's service right now," she said. "Don't give up your life like this." In the other room, however, baby Krishna was in a fit of rage. How can he be the Supreme Personality of Godhead if he's in a fit of rage? Krishna's Aptakam Apmaram. How can he be in a fit of rage? He's not. He's a baby Krishna. Simultaneously. He picked up a stone pestle lying nearby and hit the base of the earthen pot of yogurt that his mother was churning and made a hole in it. I described yesterday how he hits the base of the pot so all the yogurt will come out. He doesn't just want a little bit of yogurt to come out. He wants to punish his mother for being so unkind to him. So he hits it down the bottom. A thick stream of yogurt began flowing all over the floor as Krishna watched with fascination. Although he was captivated by the sight of the stream of yogurt spilling onto the ground, it made him remember his mother. Consequently, he fearfully ran into a nearby room that had a doorway leading outside. Hanging from the ceiling was a pot of butter that enticed his mind. He climbed on top of an overturned grinding mortar and started eating the butter out of the pot, and at the same time feeding some of it to the crows and monkeys who had come. We described yesterday how in Ram Leela, the crows and the monkeys, what's his name?
Jatayu.
Jatayu, yes, and the other one? his brother?
Chimpanzee.
No.
Yes, his brother?
Jatayu.
Jatayu
Chimpanzee.
and Jatayu's brother
Chimpanzee.
that they met in crossing the, begins with a K. Kosamsu, yeah, this one.
Chimpanzee is
What's his name?
Chimpanzee.
Ah, okay. Anyway, the crows and the monkeys, Hanuman, Sugriva, etc. Sampati. You had to dig through the archives to find it. Sampati. Yes. Sampati and Jaya.
Yes.
When Mother Yashoda returned to the pot of yogurt to continue her churning, she saw the stream of yogurt flowing from the broken pot. She thought, this is surely the work of my clever son. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says in his commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam 10.9.7, Krishna was highly skillful in breaking the earthen pot, for he did not make a sound, nor did his ornaments, nor did he make any sound in the other room as he climbed on top of the grinding mortar to take butter. Indeed, this could have only been the accomplishment of her intelligent son. By the tiny footprints of yogurt on the floor, the sweet smell of butter coming from the room nearby, and various other clues, Mother Yashoda easily guessed my beloved son has entered that very room. Peering inside, she saw Sri Krishna standing on the grinding mortar, stealing fresh butter. She took a small stick in her hand to punish her clever child, and tiptoed into the room like a cat. But as soon as she entered, the crows and monkeys fled. Sri Krishna immediately understood, Mother has come. He leapt from the grinding mortar and fled outside towards the royal lane. Mother Yashoda also ran onto the road, pursuing her son. I explained yesterday, normally Mother Yashoda would never run in the road without fully dressing herself nicely. And Krishna knew this. He's so smart. He thought Mother will not try and chase me in the royal roam. But actually his mother did because of her. It's like the gopis transgressing all dharma to meet with Krishna. So Mother Yashoda was transgressing all social etiquette to catch her son. It's the same mood of absolute nishta to fulfill her connection with Krishna. The silk cloth on Mother Yashoda's somewhat full, bluish limbs fluttered as she swiftly ran, and the beautiful fragrant flowers that were woven into her braid began to fall as if to say, Mother, you are not alone. We are also with you. Catch him quickly. Mother Yashoda's pace exceeded Krishna's, and thus she caught him from behind. This is a tremendous, tremendous teaching that we have to demonstrate more love for Krishna to actually capture him. We're always depending on, oh, Krishna is going to love me. I'm so wonderful. This is the conditioned mentality. But actually, the reality is, I have to go forward to connect with Krishna. It's like the two different philosophies of the monkey hanging on the back, the little baby monkey hanging on the back. He has to hold on. And then there's the other philosophy of the cat carrying the kitten. The kitten doesn't do anything, doesn't struggle. So which is the Gaudiya Siddhanta? Which of the two? We actually are both. We have to hold on. At the same time, we have to be dependent on Krishna. But we have to initiate the whole relationship. We have to demonstrate by our service to Krishna. Now that's not so easy because we can do all kinds of services in the world that are more pleasing to ourselves and perhaps our brothers and sisters and relatives, etc., or friends and family, than they are to Krishna. What is the principle? To please Krishna. How can I please Krishna? What does Krishna want? This is not an easy consideration, genuinely. But this is bhakti.
So that means, Gurudev, always first we have to do the cheshta and then only kripa will come.
Yes.
Always.
Yes, of course. Yes, we have to do the seva, the effort. It's like in any material relationship. We have to make an effort for the relationship. and then we wait for the reciprocation. We wait for the kripa. If the kripa comes or the kripa doesn't come, that's not in our hand. But the effort can be there. We have to make the effort. But the focus to please Krishna, not to please me. This means knowing what is Shuddha Bhakti. Not that I want liberation. If I do a Radha-kunda parikrama and thinking, oh, this will give me liberation. If I'm thinking, you know, there's something in it for me, then that is not bhakti. That's not going to please Krishna.
But the kripa is already given, isn't it? By giving the human birth.
We have it, but how much do we realize it?
Yeah.
How much are we taking advantage of it? If we are to obtain Sri Krishna, then we must love him more than he loves us. We can't just be little babies all our lives thinking, oh yes, Krishna's going to come and save me, save me, save me. Like the little kitten philosophy. We must actively move towards Krishna. Only then can he be controlled, like the Brijvasis control Krishna by their love. We will also have to love him with great intimacy, Vishrambha Bhav, with the same simple, natural attachment, Lokik Sambandhavat, as the residents of Braj. This Lokik Sambandhavat means just like in ordinary social dealings. We love him like that, in a very personal, natural way, without the Aishwarya drums, etc. Especially like the Gopas and their wives, Krishna may be pleased by love that is mixed with the moods of awe and reverence, Aishwarya, but he cannot be controlled by it. This is like the love of the Mahishis, the queens. That's called Samanjasarati. That Samanjasarati doesn't control Krishna. Krishna is not controlled by Rukmini. He's not controlled by Satyabhama. When Satyabhama becomes really upset and disturbed, she goes into the angry room. Krishna comes to the entrance of the palace and tells the doorkeeper, oh, go and tell Satyabhama that I've come here now. She has to very quietly take a bath and everything, and then come to the door. Krishna doesn't even take his flute to Dwarka. He doesn't need to break their man. He just directs them, come like this. So, he can't be controlled by the queen. And what's the name of the Rati that controls? Samartha Rati. Samartha Rati of the gopis, that controls Krishna. That completely controls him because their love is so deep. Just see, with the mood of a simple mother, Sri Yashoda naturally regards Sri Krishna as her son and chastises him. Sri Krishna is offered worship everywhere else, but when he is in Braj, he is the servant of the inhabitants of Braj. He is the servant, and the inhabitants of Braj are the masters. On the command of the gopis, he begins to dance. He puts Nanda Baba's slippers on his head and delivers them to him. Under Yogamaya's influence, he forgets his supremacy and enacts his pastimes as an ordinary human being. This is called Madhurya Leela. Sri Krishna's honey-like pastimes, although Sri Krishna's pastimes in Braj are full of opulence, that opulence does not even slightly stifle the love of the inhabitants of Braj, that the inhabitants of Braj have for him. Instead, it invigorates their honey-like love, causing it to condense even more. This is the speciality of the love of Braj. This is so important for us to understand. What is the nature of this Madhurya? This Madhurya is so rare. Not even Vyasadeva understood this initially. This was why he was despondent, and Narad had to come and bless him with a vision. This Madhurya Ras was not really on the open market, so to speak, before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advented. Who was exhibiting that Madhurya Ras? Very, very little, very small understanding of this. Because Madhurya must always have at the heart of it, or Braj Prem must always have at the heart of it, Parakiya Ras. This must be there. If that Parakiya Ras is absent, then it's not full Madhurya Ras. It's Aishwarya. The practicing devotee, sadhak, should also desire to perform activities that will melt Sri Krishna's heart. Sri Krishna will not be able to resist him for very long. He will accept that devotee with his whole heart and immerse him in his own sublime service. So this is the end of this first verse. There's another very beautiful quote from the Chaitanya Charitamrita in the 4th chapter, Adilila, verse 17. It says, Aishwarya Janate Shada Shabad Jagat Mishrita. Aishwarya Stila Prem Nahi Mora Prita. All the universe is filled with knowledge of my majesty, Krishna says. But love, weakened by that sense of majesty, does not control me. Understand this? If one regards me as the Supreme Lord and himself as a subordinate, I do not become subservient to his love, nor can it control me. Braj Prem is about controlling Krishna through our love. The Dwarkavasis, they don't have that capacity at all to control Krishna. They all believe that Krishna is the supreme controller. He is controlling them. So these last points are very, very powerful in this commentary on this first verse. So we're talking about Damordarastakam, and yet so many points are there for our increased progressive bhakti. This is why this Damordarastakam is sung daily by all the devotees during this sacred month of Kartika, because there's just so much in it. It's packed. Shri Damordarastakam ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Gaur Premanandi, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Tika ki jai. Shri Damordarastakam ki jai. Kartik Brat ki jai. Gaur Premanandi, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhuvaya Vaja Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavi Namo Namaha.